34th district is the best district to come to. When you walk in, somebody walks up to you and says, "Do you want red wine or white wine?" This is probably one of the most important elections in my life. I don't think, you say, well, you've had too many, or you've run a lot of times, or whatever. But this election is going to be an election where we decide the direction of this country. Because we are going to decide whether we're going to go backward with Mitt Romney or whoever, or we're going to keep moving in the direction of dealing with the problems of the American middle class. The decision made by the Supreme Court, which will be made in July, will decide whether we're going to go forward with health care. And I'm personally one of those. I sat there during the oral arguments on the individual mandate. And I watched John Roberts and Justice Kennedy try and figure out how are they going to solve this thing. I think they're going to ultimately be on the side of upholding it and win by 6-3. And my belief is that that issue will then be decided in the 2013 election. And that's why I'm running again. I was so excited when it passed in 2012. I knew that they were going to do everything they could to dismember it. But the single last piece of a safety net for all of us is guaranteed health care in this country. And it should be a human right. It is not a question of children. Having the opportunity to be there and work on it is what I'm looking forward to. Now, I come here really to say thank you. I don't suppose that many of you really understand what it feels like to be given the trust of 800,000 people to go and represent them in Washington, D.C. It is a very high honor, and I have been granted that honor a number of times, 12 times in this area, and I am very grateful to you for having put that kind of trust in me. It is something that makes you, sometimes you hear people say things about, our government and all of what's going on, and they say that Congress is only got 10% approval rating or whatever, but I never feel that in my district. And that is a very high honor for anybody to receive in this society. I take it very seriously. I think that we are facing a time when our president has, from the very first day he came into office, been opposed. The Republican Party believes that the White House belongs to them. And they were upset when Bill Clinton was there for 8 years, and finally they got it back with George Bush. And when it was taken away by Barack Obama, they decided that from day one they were going to stop it. And you don't very often hear politicians actually tell the truth. But Mitch McConnell did. Mitch McConnell said, my goal is to prevent Barack Obama from being reelected to a second term. And he used everything in his power, whether it was the filibuster or the holds on bills or whatever. This country has not been ruled by a majority for the last 4 years. It has been ruled by a minority in the United States Senate. We sent over, when we were in power in the Democratic side the first 2 years, we sent over 400 bills, all of which died in the Senate. Now the Republicans are having the same problem. They send them over there and they're dying in the Senate. All because of the filibuster. And in my view, Barack Obama has accomplished a tremendous amount in the face of continual opposition. And I am very eager. I think we collectively will have a tremendous job to do to bring out the votes so that in this state there isn't any question that Barack Obama gets the electoral votes out of the state of Washington. it'll come out of my district, out of the 7th district. And you will be a part of that. And I really, I count that also a heavy responsibility that all of us have to face. I also think that the issues of the safety net in this country have not been dealt with in a way that I think ought to be. Foreclosures on homes, it's the basic things that are being attacked by the Republicans. They have simply refused to deal with controlling the banking interests in this country, or what's happening in the housing industry, or what's happening in labor. All of that has been a deliberate, planned attack. What you saw happen in Wisconsin was deliberately put on the road because they wanted to go nationwide with that. They wanted to go after collective bargaining rights everywhere in the country. And what you're seeing is the right wing making a determined attempt to take over this country and push the middle class back into making $5 an hour or $3 an hour, whatever they can get away with. They simply don't believe in the minimum wage. They don't believe in... I was the chairman of the committee that dealt with unemployment insurance. And to hear people stand up in public and say, when people get an unemployment check, that makes sense. It creates a moral hazard. They don't feel like they have to go out and look for work. Anybody who talks like that about unemployed people has never been unemployed. I grew up in a home where my father lost his job twice. And my brother and I delivered newspapers, and it was the money we made on our newspaper routes that paid for the house mortgage. That's how families work together when you are driven down. And that's really what's happening in this country right now. They are trying desperately to push back all the opportunity for anybody. They don't want student loans. They want to put the student loans in the banks. The banks can charge any interest they want. If you get a government loan, you're held at 6.8%. So they're doing it to students. They're doing it to old people. You got Paul Ryan getting up saying, let's give a voucher to all the old people and let them go out and find an insurance company where we give them Medicare. I mean, it is on every front you're seeing that. So that's why this is such an important election. I'm very pleased that you have supported me in the past, and I would like your support again this time. I intend to go back in 2013 and work on health care and the other parts of the social safety net that I think are essential if we're going to have a middle class and be the America that you and I believe we live in. Because if you look at what's happening and what's happening to our neighbors, it is becoming a place that you look around and you say, this isn't America. Why do we have... You have a church in Ballard that has 6 parking spots out front of the church marked off for people who are living in their cars. Now that's in Seattle in 2012. And when you've got that kind of stuff going on in this society, you realize how much and how important this election really is. So thank you very much for your help in the past, and I'd like your support.